Let the name of Jesus be known in the land. Be exalted. Be praised. Where it's being blasphemed today, being praised and exalted and glorified. God inhabits the praises of his people. And David said, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Why at all times? Because at all times God is worthy of praise. In every circumstance, he is worthy of praise. I'll leave you with a real testimony to the glory of God. His name is Dimitri. He was a Russian pastor. He was actually a factory worker that started a house church in his own home. And the Lord grew that church to about 150 people. Well, under communism, it drew the attention of the government. And they came to shut him down. And all he had to do was sign a document saying he would stop preaching the gospel. All he had to do was renounce Christ. But he wouldn't do it. And they arrested Dimitri, and they took him away from his family, his wife and his children. They took him 1,000 miles away. And they put him in a prison with about 1,500 hardened prisoners, criminals. And this man was in this prison for 17 years. For 17 years, they beat him. They tortured him. They persecuted him. For 17 years, though, every single morning at daybreak, without fail, Dimitri stood up next to his bed and outside his prison door there and lifted his hands to heaven and sang the same heart song of praise to Jesus every single morning at daybreak. They would beat him. The other prison inmates would bang their cups on the bars trying to drown out his song. They threw human waste at him. They cursed him. They mocked him. The guards would go in at times and try to beat it out of him. They couldn't beat it out of him. They gave him every opportunity to recant. He would not. Every morning, without fail, arms lifted, hands raised, singing the same heart song of praise to Jesus every morning at daybreak. And finally, at the end of 17 years, when they saw they're not going to change this man, they said, you're going to be executed. We've had enough of this. You see that out that window, that execution block? That's where you're going to be hung in the morning. In the morning, they come to take him out of his cell. Again, they beat him after he stood and sang the same song of praise to Jesus, offering up the sacrifice of praise every morning. And as they drag him down the hallway to his execution, suddenly something happens. Nearly every prison inmate in that prison stepped forward to his cell door, lifted up their hands, and in one accord with one voice sang the very same heart song of praise to Jesus that they had learned from Dimitri. Imagine this sound of praise, 1,500 inmates singing the same song to the Lord. The guards drop Dimitri. Stunned, they look at him and they say, "Who are you?" Dimitri stands up and says, "I'm a son of the living God, and Jesus Christ is his name." Revival hit that prison. They released Dimitri, and not very long after that, his own son becomes a chaplain of that prison. Revival? Revival in a prison through one man that they couldn't beat first love out of. They couldn't beat it out of him. They couldn't drown it out of him. And when you've seen him, the King, they won't beat it out of you either. They won't drown it out of you.
My name is Dimitri. I was born a Russian man, and I was a factory worker until 1960, and I started teaching the Bible to my 2 little boys. That's when the journey began. Well, our house became a church, and the Sunday school grew. Had 150, before we knew it. But the KGB didn't want God around. 17 years they locked me up 1,000 miles away. This is my heart song, and I will stand and sing, for I am a son of the living King. So when the fight comes, I'll be rejoicing. Yeah, even when I suffer, I'll be singing. Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. Despite 1,500 prisoners, criminal to the core, who'd laugh and curse and bang their cups and try to drown me out. Like clockwork every morning, with the rising of the sun, I'd stand and raise my hands and sing my heart song up to God. You hear me, God? This is my heart song, and I will stand and sing, for I am a son of the living King. So when the fire comes, I'll be rejoicing. Yeah, even when I suffer, I'll be singing. Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. Believers, stand for what you believe. Faint not in adversity. If you are cursed for Jesus' name, don't give up. No, don't give up. Well, they tried to break me, but I wouldn't give in. And as they came to drag me out for my execution, I heard a choir of angels, yeah, murderers and thieves. Those 1,500 criminals had risen up for me. They raised their hands and sang the song my father taught me. The sweetest sound I ever heard, yeah, I heard freedom.